Every year, we see about doubling in the sort of interest in Hadoop, and we've done it again this year. So it's great to see. So this year, I'm going to talk more about the future than I have in previous years. So we've just created a new company, Hortonworks, and I'm going to talk about what Hortonworks is about and a bit about our intentions in terms of investment in Apache Hadoop looking forward. So let's get into it. So Hortonworks is really focused on the mission of revolutionizing and commoditizing the storage and processing of big data via open source. And this is an open source company from beginning to end. We'll talk more about that. So the vision is that we really believe that half the world's data will be stored in Apache Hadoop in the next 5 years. We think that's going to happen, and we want to really help that happen. So the strategy is we want to grow the Apache Hadoop ecosystem by making Apache Hadoop easier to consume. And by consume, we mean use, install, manage. Right? So, and of course, we plan to run a business, and we want to do that by providing training, support, and certification of Apache Hadoop. So this is an independent company. We'll be focused on making Apache Hadoop great, and we're holding nothing back. Apache Hadoop will be a complete product offering, right? All right. Thank you. So who are we? Technically, we are the team that's been built at Yahoo and has been building Apache Hadoop at Yahoo for the last 6 years now. We have the highest concentration of Apache Hadoop committers. We've committed more than 70% of the code in Hadoop and Pig and other projects. We have delivered every major stable Apache Hadoop release since the beginning. We have a history of innovation across the Apache Hadoop stack. We've added lots and lots and lots of the major new things in Hadoop over the years and talked about a lot of them here every year. And we have the experience of having helped manage the world's largest deployment, those 42,000 Hadoop nodes at Yahoo that Jay was talking about, and the huge diversity of workloads that we've seen there. So that's the technical team. Now, the business side, I'm excited to say, is just as impressive. We're being joined by Rob Bearden, formerly of Benchmark and formerly of JBoss, SpringSource, et cetera. So he was bringing with him a team of very experienced open source executives, and I'm very excited at that partnership. I think together we bring a lot to the table. And we also have great investors between Yahoo and Benchmark Capital, which has a history of investing in a lot of successful open source projects and a lot of big internet projects as well. So that's us. Let me talk a bit about the Yahoo partnership. So Yahoo is a development partner. We're going to leverage their huge developer base, their huge user base on Apache Hadoop. They have over 1,000 active users of Apache Hadoop. We saw some of them while we were filing in today. And they also have some of the largest grids in the world, the largest Hadoop clusters. And they're going to let us use some of that resource to help harden Hadoop. And together, we are the only organization, as I said earlier, that's released stable Apache releases. So we think this is just going to be a great collaboration. And we're really focused together on the next generation of Hadoop, which I'll talk about in a bit. And of course, Yahoo is going to continue to invest in Hadoop development as well. They're going to continue to contribute code. Yahoo is also a customer of ours. We, as I said, are taking the core architects and contributors from the Hadoop team here in Sunnyvale and building this new company. So we're going to be providing level 3 support for Yahoo, meaning that they're going to fix a lot of the bugs. They're going to do a lot themselves. But when it gets really interesting, they can call on us, and we'll dig into it and help with core problems. And Yahoo's going to deploy Apache Hadoop. Yahoo is deploying Apache Hadoop today on all of its 42,000 nodes, but we're going to continue to do our release engineering and collaboration through the Apache Foundation, make releases from Apache, and then burn them in Yahoo. When we find bugs, we'll fix them in Apache, and we'll spin new releases. And Yahoo's an investor in our company. So that's the collaboration. So what are we about? All right. So we really see, a huge amount of interest in Hadoop in the enterprise and government across the world. Early adopters, as Jay said, are using it everywhere. Right? I was talking to a major service provider who said that they're seeing Hadoop in basically all of their major Fortune 2000 data accounts. That's huge. People are trying it all over companies all over the world. But it's not easy to use and manage Hadoop. You have to either hire very experienced people or you have to bring in very expensive consultants. And that's, there's not a lot of third-party support today for Hadoop. Right? Vendors are having a hard time finding those expensive people. And so this is a break on how fast Hadoop can grow. Right? So there's this knowledge gap and technology gaps, and that Hadoop itself is still very young. There's a lot of ways that Hadoop could be better. So, we think that that's what's keeping Hadoop from sort of popping, as Jay said, and being used across, at the corporate level and more places today. So that's our opportunity and our role, or that's our aspiration, is to really bridge that gap and make Apache Hadoop much easier to install, use, manage in companies around the world. Right? Because we really see a fundamental shift in enterprise data architecture coming, right? Especially as people are trying to deal with new kinds of data, new types, semi-structured data, and very large scales of data. The traditional architectures aren't solving the problem as cost effectively as Hadoop can. So that's the opportunity. Enterprises see it, they're trying it, vendors see it, they're excited about it. But to really make this work, Hadoop needs to be better, and there need to be more people who understand it. So we're going to sell training and support. We're going to make Hadoop better. That's our role. That's our aspiration. So more specifically, how are we going to make Hadoop better? So a lot of it is just focusing on ease of use. We want to make, and the simplest things are sometimes the most important. Until very recently, you couldn't download a compiled binary version of Hadoop from the Apache website. We've started to do that. We're now starting to release RPMs and .debians, et cetera, from the Hadoop website, like the Apache Hadoop website. And those releases are being tested, and we're going to have a program of regular sustaining engineering that we do in collaboration with the whole Apache community on the Apache Hadoop releases, so that when something gets fixed in Hadoop, you won't have to wait for the next major release, which might be a year down the road. You should see it in weeks. So we're very excited to be bringing that program, which used to be a Yahoo internal program, to Apache Hadoop. That's a commitment we made in February. You're starting to see the results of that in 0.20.203 and 204. And we're just going to keep doing that. So Hadoop needs to be more robust. It needs to be more performant. It needs to be more available. It needs to have better administration and management capabilities. And we're going to invest in those things. We're going to invest in those things in Apache Hadoop. And Apache Hadoop can be hard to integrate and to use with other tools. So we're going to have a focus on opening up the APIs to enable experimentation and integration. There's a lot of that coming in the next release, and we're really interested in people contributing their good ideas to the Hadoop architecture across the stack, because there's a lot of ways it could be made better. We want to support those. So again, we are all into Apache. We're going to do our development collaboratively with the community. We're not the Apache community. We're a subset of it. So we're going to publish our roadmaps and the things that we intend to work on. We're going to do our development in Apache. You've seen examples of that this year with Next Generation MapReduce, where we've done all that work in the open and invited people to join us in the early development. We're going to continue to do that. Complete transparency. That's the way we're going to do this. And all the code is going to go back to Apache. No ifs, whats, or buts on that one. That's our commitment. Great. And that's, I mean, that's something that, that's really my biggest message, is that we think that Apache Hadoop has the potential to be a world-changing technology. But to do that, we need to come together as a community, right? And we think that that's the most exciting thing about open source is, you know, there's lots of vendors, lots of people with different ideas for how to make this thing better. We can compete, we can cooperate. So we're just asking everyone to commit to basing their offerings on the Apache Hadoop offering. And anybody who does that is our partner. And, you know, we're looking to find a world full of partners. So we're very excited to be out and focusing more broadly on the broader market as Hortonworks today. So let me talk a bit about our technology roadmap. I'm just going to give you an overview of what you're going to hear later in the day. So first, as I mentioned earlier, phase one, which we're already in the middle of, is just making Apache Hadoop more accessible. That's really that program of sustaining releases I already talked about. We've been doing that since February for the main Hadoop project. We're just putting RPMs out now. We're going to keep doing that. We're going to do that for all the other projects as we engage in them. So we want to see, in this year, we want to see Hadoop get to the point where all the projects can be installed and used directly from Apache. That's going to be our focus, is just making it incrementally easier for people to adopt Apache Hadoop. It's already pretty good. I just saw some analyst research that said, you know, Apache Hadoop is the release of Hadoop that is most downloaded by folks experimenting with Hadoop today. 63% of all sites download Apache Hadoop. Right? That's not to the exclusion of other releases, but more sites download Apache Hadoop than any other release. That's the way it is today, where you have to compile it yourself, all right? Or until very recently. So imagine how, you know, much more value Apache Hadoop will bring to the community and how much more it'll be used if it's easier to use. All right, so that's going to be our focus this year. And then next year, with alpha starting this year, we're going to be really sort of pushing out the next major release of Apache Hadoop with the help of the community, of course. The things we really want to address are some key product gaps. We want HBase support on top of HDFS to just work. We want HA, that's a bit of a buzzword. We want to eliminate all the single points of failure from the Hadoop products. That's going to be a sustaining program. It's not going to be done in one shot, but we think we can make huge progress on that this year and next. And management. We want to start introducing more sophisticated management tools into the Apache Hadoop ecosystem. So that's it. Key product gaps. We want to continue opening up the APIs. I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. And we want to work again with the community to define how we do integrated stack releases of the Hadoop products, meaning that we want to test particular versions of all the Hadoop tools together and release them, and do that again as a completely open source offering. So let's deep dive a little bit more into next generation Apache Hadoop. So there's really three areas of focus: core Hadoop, data, and management. On the core of Hadoop, we are just talking with the community now about creating a 23 release. You know, name, of course, TBD by the time we're done, but that's what I expect it'll be. That will include a set of HDFS improvements, including a new write pipeline for HBase support, Federation, which allows HDFS to support much larger clusters and also is going to include a new set of APIs that will enhance experimentation, should allow us to do things like support HDFS in more interesting ways on, HBase in more interesting ways on HDFS, for example. There's going to be a next generation MapReduce. That's already, the Federation and the write pipeline are already in the main line. The MapReduce work is in a branch, but is going to go in soon. It's in testing right now. So that work is, again, about supporting larger clusters. It's also about getting much more performance out of every cluster. We think it's going to have a substantial improvement in Hadoop throughput. And it has more of those open APIs that will allow people to mix and match and bring totally new frameworks into a Hadoop environment, which we think will be very exciting. It'll allow people to do MPI more easily, to try new versions of MapReduce, bring services into the cluster, do all kinds of new things. It'll be really interesting to see what the community does with those new APIs. And we're going to have a real focus once we get 23 out and going, hopefully in a sustaining mode. We really want to work on high availability, i.e. removing all the single points of failure, and on wire compatibility. We want to make it easier for clusters to interoperate. And we want to work with all the developers in Apache Hadoop on those things, because they're obviously high priorities for everybody. On the data side, obviously we're investing in Pig and Hive and HBase. We're also working with all those communities on HCatalog, and we're very excited about its potential to allow one set of data. We're actually starting from the Hive metadata store and creating a set of APIs that will allow Pig, Hive, MapReduce, streaming, and other clients to all operate on the same managed data on Hadoop. That's very exciting. We also, in follow-on releases this year, we want to try to integrate HBase in as a backing store so that you can write one set of code and not worry how the data is stored, managed, represented, where it's located. So we think that'll be, a big innovation enhancer. Again, more open APIs and the ability to pull the Pig and Hive communities together and have those tools really interoperate. And we think that's very exciting. And we're going to be focusing again on management and ease of use. I've pretty much talked through all the things there in terms of compatibility, stack testing. We want to build out tools to do better stack installation and centralized configuration management, and we want to build out a REST and GUI console for Hadoop. And we're very excited to be able to do those things.